Welcome back, everyone, to the Late Night Review. And I'm so happy to finally get to this film. There's so many films that I like, so I'm sorry that it's been so long that I got back to Superman now. I'd like to do it sooner. Wish I could have got back to Superman earlier. There's a lot of other films and in a lot of different genres that I went through first before I got back to this one. So yeah, sorry it's been so long, but I really am a Superman fan, and I'm not claiming to be the biggest Superman fan at all. I don't have collections like other people, toys or comic books or anything like that. They're on another level in terms of the money they pay and the things they collect. And I enjoy watching those on YouTube, by the way. I really enjoy watching people's Superman collections, their personal Superman collections. I really enjoy watching those on YouTube. And then some of the YouTube shows that talk about the history of Superman and the comics and all that stuff. By the way, I have a lot of nostalgia for Superman in general. Christopher Reeve's my favorite Superman of all time. There's been others who've done a great job. Brandon Routh, Henry Cavill, George Reeves, and many others who've done a good job. Dean Cain and Lois and Clark, and Tom Welling. Really, I think he was probably one of the best, if not the best, as a young Clark. I think that was Smallville was fantastic. And but yeah, Superman with Christopher Reeve, and I love all four films on it. I'm not ashamed at all to admit that I love part four, three, and four because they've both been criticized. Part four with all its flaws, with the special effects that were bad. I love Christopher Reeve. I think he was a great Superman. I've been a Christopher Reeve fan for a long time because of Superman. When I was a baby, just a baby, and the first one came out, I was taken to see it just as a baby. Second one came out, I was taken to see that. I was taken to see all four films. So I got a ton of nostalgia for Superman in general and a lot of nostalgia for the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Those were my favorite movies as a kid. I can't say enough about it. And yes, a lot of it's nostalgia, but the first two, I don't think people can really deny those were great movies. I personally love all four of them. I think the third one was really, really good. And that's what I'm talking about tonight. Superman 3 with Christopher Reeve, Richard Pryor. And it's a very, very good movie. Margot Kidder's in here for a small role. And Robert Vaughn plays your villain in here, your main villain in here. And it's a good act. He was in the Magnificent Sevens, done a lot of stuff. Very good classical actor. He's always been very talented. I think he fits the part. As much as I miss Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, I think Robert Vaughn fits the part. And but this movie, there's a funny story I have to tell you about this movie. I was taken to the theater to see it. It was called the Roxy Theater, and when I was a kid, I love Superman. And when I was a kid, this movie, I was so pumped to see it. I loved the beginning. But when he got the synthetic kryptonite and he turned bad and he started drinking and doing evil things, and he started at Lana's house where he started to change. And I remember watching it and starting to feel bad that he wasn't pure anymore and he wasn't good. And finally, when he got drunk at the tavern, I cried. I was just a little kid. I cried. I got angry in the theater in front of people. Not jumping up angry like that, but I cried, got mad, and I walked out. And my dad went to the lobby of the theater and he convinced me to come back in. And he said, "We'll see what happens. We'll see if he changes and goes back to the way he used to be." And I came back with my dad, and there was a lady watching me, and she thought I was cute. She kind of looked at me and like that, and she looked at me and watched me how serious I was taking it. There was other kids there too, I'm sure, because I didn't look around to see who was there exactly. I just was captivated with Superman looking at the screen, so I didn't check to see how many other kids were there. I'm sure I was the only one who got up and left. That lobby was empty. And I got nostalgia for it. The red walls, or at least there were red stairs in there there was a balcony in there in that theater at the Roxy at a certain time. The stairs, I think, were red, if I remember right, and there was a wall or two that was red, and that stands out in my mind. Anyway, my dad convinced me to go back in and sit down. I looked around, that lady was smiling, and I was crying and kind of disappointed. And then they had that fight scene in the junkyard. Um, the evil Superman, the Clark Kent character, came out of him, kind of warped out of him, and it was good against evil. They had that epic fight scene, and that's one of the best scenes in any Superman movie I think that anyone's ever made, that fight scene in the junkyard. Not terribly realistic, but it's a comic book movie. And it was fun, it's exciting. You can't beat the score and the music in the four films with Christopher Reeve. The score was awesome. And just an amazing score. And I'll say this: when Clark Kent finally won the fight and the evil Superman disappeared, and he looked up into the sky, and then he opened his shirt and you saw the S and the music started, the whole theater clapped. I remember that the whole theater clapped. I was happy. I was really, really happy, and I'll never forget that. The whole theater clapped, and I think they knew that some people were disappointed, and I was the one who was the saddest and disappointed. I was mad and sad. So when they clapped, I'm sure they were thinking about everyone who was disappointed, and probably me, because I made a scene. I made a scene. I was born in 77, and Superman 3 came out in 1983, I believe. I'm doing a lot of this on memory. Most of my videos, if not all of them, I just wing it. And I'm sorry about. I'm a casual YouTuber. I'm busy. I got other things going on in my life. Other things I'm pursuing that don't really have anything to do with YouTube. But except my art, you see my art on this channel a lot. That's the whole reason I got a YouTube channel, just so more people can see my art. I'm not a social media guy, and I really never wanted a YouTube channel, but I figured, Travis, I told myself it'd be a shame if more people didn't see your art. So I got the YouTube channel just for that. And I never changed the name of my YouTube channel. It's still called Doorway to the Paintings. It's probably not the best thing for the algorithms, but yeah, so I started doing movie reviews because I figured it's something I always liked watching on YouTube. It's always something I wanted to do, so I started doing it, and people watch my movie reviews more than my art on average. So, but anyway, that being aside, everyone in the theater clapped, and I'll never forget it. That was probably the most memorable experience I had at a theater because of that. The scene I made. I was so sad my hero was being corrupted. The purity was gone, and I was thinking, what are they doing? What are they doing to him? But now, as an adult, and over the years, even when I was a teenager, I just grew to love this movie. I really liked this movie. And Richard Pryor, I thought he was funny. I thought he did a good job. But certain people pushed him. As far as what I've heard, just what I've heard. I didn't do a ton of research about this before I made this video, but as far as what I heard, he was a Superman fan, and he really liked it, and he didn't want to come in and make fun of things too much. I heard that he as a fan, he wanted to play it more straight than some of his other work, and it's kind of like almost like Eddie Murphy in Vampire in Brooklyn with Wes Craven. Wes Craven wanted the humor, but Eddie Murphy wanted to kind of play it straight. Well, in here, Richard Pryor, I heard he was a fan, and he held back because he wanted to just kind of he didn't want to mess with the formula. I think that's what the case was. But I like this movie, and they gave Superman the key to the city in here for putting out that fire and stopping that cloud of acid that would have taken place if the fire would have gotten out of control. I like how he freezes the lake at the beginning. And it's one of my favorite Superman movies of all time. And one thing I forgot to mention, this is unscripted. I'm winging it almost every time. Doesn't mean I won't put a script together in the future just to kind of refine my videos. However, I wanted to say, and I forgot to say it at the beginning, that my nostalgia for Superman is pretty deep, and I love superpowers as a kid. The superpower toys, I love those. I had the superpower Superman, Aquaman, and I had Lex Luthor with his kryptonite suit, and many other characters, the Green Lantern, the Batman. I wish, I kick myself because I wish I would have just kept them so nice, maybe in the package or out of them, just to have them nowadays. But when I was a kid, I boxed them. I had them all fight each other, and that messed up the paint. I just had all my toys fight and have battles and all that stuff. So shouldn't have done that, but a little of it, but I should have been gentle. But anyway, Kurt Swan was always my favorite Superman artist and still is. If you're looking for photorealism, then you go with Alex Ross. And I'll tell you something, Alex Ross grew on me, even though my nostalgia is for Kurt Swan, Jack Kirby, Wayne Boring, and a few Neil Adams, Dan Jurgens, and others, from the 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, if you're talking about Wayne Boring and Jack Kirby, you're going way back. I think Wayne Boring was even before Jack Kirby, if I remember right. But yeah, there's so many artists that I like. I grew to like Alex Ross when his art first came out. I wasn't used to it. I thought it was good, but I always liked Kurt Swan. But his art grew on me, and now Alex Ross is one of my favorites because his art is realistic. It's not like Kurt Swan's. Kurt Swan's is more, it's very iconic and it's very memorable. He has a style about him that is just very unique. Alex Ross is more photorealistic. And as an artist myself, I do a combination of realism and impressionism, mostly probably a little bit more impressionism mixed with the realism. So I like both, but especially probably leaning towards impressionism a little bit more. If I do a painting that almost looks exactly like real life, then I figure, all the hours I spent doing that, I should have just taken a photograph. And plus, when you just do real life, you're just kind of copying what is rather than inventing, rather than creating. So I don't want to be in that box of just realism where I paint and just look at things. Gee, I got to make it look exactly like real life here, and everywhere. But when it's impressionism, you can give it even more character. You can go outside that box and create. You can make it look probably a little bit more iconic because you have the extra slack to do things that are not just real but beyond that. So, but anyway, yeah, Kurt Swan and Christopher Reeve. That one of the reasons I mentioned the art is not only because we're talking or I'm talking about Superman, but Christopher Reeve looked like he stepped off the comic book page. He really looked like Clark Kent and Superman, and his rendition of Clark Kent, I think, is the best as well. Not only Superman, but his rendition of Clark Kent's the best as well. And in an interview once or something I've read, I think he said that he kind of based his Clark Kent mannerisms and behavior on a movie. I think it was with Cary Grant, where he played a young man, and not Ingrid Bergman, but Katharine Hepburn. I think it might have been Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn in a movie, and Cary Grant was kind of the young, inexperienced young man, and Katharine Hepburn had the experience, and she was kind of leading him along. And I think he kind of based some of the bumbling and mannerisms and fumbling and bumbling of his Clark Kent on that film, and I can't remember what that film was. That's something I heard. I can't promise you that's the case, but that's something I think I read in a Superman comic. I think it was a comic that was, I think it was called Wizard Comics, and it was like a collector's edition. And yeah, But it went over Superman facts and facts about the film behind the scenes, the Wizard comics, I think. But anyway, yeah, Superman Part 3. It's very, very good. The Robert Vaughn, the main character, he creates this gigantic computer that will do whatever he commands it to do, whatever he tells it to do. And Richard Pryor is a computer genius, kind of a natural computer genius. Even he didn't know how good he was until later, and he starts working for Robert Vaughn. And the whole time, yeah, I think it's a really good movie. And that fight scene in the junkyard, and most people have seen it. A lot of younger generations perhaps haven't seen it, and if you haven't, I like it. I think you're in for a treat if you're a Superman fan. I know there's a lot of people who don't like the film, as not even close as much as I like the film, but I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite Superman movies of all time. It's one of my favorite movies ever, and I enjoy it. This has been the Late Night Review. I hope you enjoyed this Superman 3 review, and please like and subscribe and share this video. And take care, everybody, and have a good night.